Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are heading back into the desert heat. We are putting on the hazmat suits, checking the ventilation, and stepping right back into the high-stakes, sun-scorched world of Albuquerque.
Oh, yeah.
We are, of course, talking about Breaking Bad.
It is always a good day when we get to dissect Vince Gilligan's universe. There's just so much material there to really chew on.
Oh, absolutely. But listen, we aren't just doing a general, overview today. We are zooming in microscope style on one specific pivotal and honestly kind of stressful hour of television.
Very stressful.
We're looking at Season 4, Episode 9. The episode is titled Bug.
Bug. It's such a short, punchy title, isn't it? One syllable. But it carries a tremendous amount of narrative weight.
It really does. And looking at our stack of sources today, we've got detailed plot breakdowns, some really fascinating production notes regarding the shooting locations, specifically Los Pollos Hermanos, and we've pulled some interesting critical reception data from places like the AV Club and The Ringer. And I have to say, this episode feels like the moment where the pressure cooker finally just explodes.
That's a very fair assessment. If you look at the narrative arc of Season 4 as a whole, it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It is this incredibly tense chess match between Gus Fring and Walter White. It's quiet, it's menacing.
Yeah.
But Bug is where the pieces start getting knocked off the board. It's a structural turning point for the entire series.
Exactly. And our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly why this specific hour matters so much. We aren't just recapping, we're analyzing. We're going to look at how this episode systematically dismantles the key relationships in the show.
We're talking Walt and Jesse.
Right. Skyler and Ted. And even the delicate balance between Gus and the cartel.
And naturally, we have to analyze that title, Bug. It's not just about a listening device, though that is the literal plot device. It's about the concept of an irritant, a glitch, the thing that breaks the system.
Plus, we have a bit of a mystery to solve later on in the show regarding how this was received by critics versus how it's ranked retrospectively. I saw a statistic in the research that actually made my jaw drop.
Oh, I know the one.
Like, how can an episode this important be ranked so incredibly low? But we will get to that.
We certainly will. It's a fascinating case study in how audience expectations shift over time.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the literal interpretation of the title, the surveillance state. The episode opens, and we are right back in the saddle with Hank Schrader and his obsessive quest to catch Gus Fring.
Right. And to set the context for anyone who hasn't watched in a while, Hank is really operating on an island here.
Yeah.
He's gone rogue.
Totally rogue.
He doesn't have the DEA's official blessing for this specific angle. He's operating on pure gut instinct. He managed to place a GPS tracker on Gus Fring's Volvo in the previous episodes.
Which, let's be honest, was a pretty tense moment in itself. But now, in Bug, Hank finally retrieves the device. This is the moment of truth. He's sitting there in his car, plugging it into his laptop, and you can see it on his face. He's expecting the smoking gun.
He really is.
He wants to see a map that lights up with trips to meth superlabs and desert burial sites.
Exactly. He's looking for the X that marks the spot.
Yeah.
But what does he actually get?
He gets a commute.
He gets nothing. Or rather, he gets exactly what a legitimate, boring businessman's travel log would look like. Home, work, home, work. Maybe a stop at the car wash. The source material notes that Hank is visibly disappointed here. He's deflated.
Yeah.
He was banking entirely on this bug to prove his theory.
It's the classic technology fails trope, but it's interesting because the technology didn't actually malfunction. The GPS worked perfectly.
Precisely. The failure wasn't technical, it was human. Or rather, the success was on the counter-surveillance side. Gus Fring is meticulous.
So meticulous.
He knew the tracker was there. He didn't destroy it, which would have tipped his hand. Instead, he just curated his routine to look perfectly innocent.
That is so much scarier, isn't it? If he destroyed it, Hank would know he struck a nerve. By playing along, Gus makes Hank look crazy.
It reinforces the theme that surveillance is only as good as the person analyzing it or the person being surveilled. Gus essentially performed a play for an audience of one, Hank.
So Hank strikes out. He's frustrated, but this creates a massive ripple effect because of who is sitting in the car with him. Walt is there. And Walt isn't just a passive observer in this scene. He is sweating bullets.
Walt is in a terrible position.
Yeah.
He's trapped between two massive forces. He is the brother-in-law of the cop and the employee of the criminal. And in this episode, we see Walt trying to play both sides, which is ultimately his fatal flaw. He isn't just watching, he is actively interfering.
The sources mention that Walt actually warns Mike Ehrmantraut about what Hank is doing. He essentially tips off the cartel that the DEA, or at least Hank, is watching. That feels like a huge betrayal of Hank, obviously, but also a desperate move to save his own skin.
It's pure self-preservation. If Hank catches Gus, the investigation inevitably leads to the blue meth, which leads to Heisenberg. So Walt has to keep Gus free to keep himself free. But it gets more complicated because the surveillance goes both ways.
Right. There is that moment where they are at Hank's house and Walt spots a car parked down the street. It's Tyrus Kitt.
Tyrus. He's the guy who took over for Victor. Very silent, very menacing.
Always looks like he's just waiting for permission to do something terrible. So Walt sees Tyrus watching Hank's house, and the realization hits him. While he is protecting Gus from Hank, Gus is also watching Hank. It's a surveillance loop.
And Walt realizes he's in the middle of a war zone. So what did he do? He makes a move that is frantic, hilarious, and incredibly risky.
He pulls a total Karen move. He calls the cops.
It is a very strategic, albeit chaotic, choice. He calls the local police on Tyrus, reporting a suspicious vehicle watching the neighborhood.
I love the irony of this. The biggest drug manufacturer in the Southwest is using legitimate law enforcement to harass a drug cartel enforcer to protect a DEA agent.
It highlights Walt's desperate juggling act. As the sources point out, he is protecting Hank from the cartel, protecting the cartel from Hank, and simultaneously trying to undermine the cartel to assert his own dominance. He's trying to control every variable, but he's running out of hands.
And this interference has consequences. Mike Ehrmantraut is not a man who appreciates having the police called on his men. This sets up a major confrontation later, but it just shows how Walt is flailing. He is spinning plates, but the plates are made of C4.
And while Walt is dealing with spycraft and cartel hitmen, we have to look at the other performance happening in the White family, because the rot is spreading.
Yes, let's pivot to Skyler White. Because while Walt is playing James Bond, Skyler is dealing with the most mundane yet terrifying threat of all, the Internal Revenue Service.
Tax fraud. It's the silent killer of criminal empires. As the saying goes, it's how they got Al Capone.
The irony here is thick. Skyler starts the episode by telling Walt that the car wash their money laundering front is actually doing exceptionally well.
Right. She reports that business is booming. She even suggests that Walt might be able to quit cooking meth soon. She sees a light at the end of the tunnel. She thinks, we have the business, the money is clean, we can get out.
Which is heartbreaking because we know Walt is dealing with snipers and GPS trackers. Skyler thinks the exit door is open, but Walt knows the building is on fire.
And then the door slams shut because of Ted Beneke.
Oh, Ted, the man who heated his bathroom floors with company money. What's the situation with him in this episode?
It is dire. Ted reveals to Skyler that he is being audited, and the source material specifies the stakes here, which are crucial to understand. He owes roughly $600,000 in back taxes and fines.
600 grand. That is a staggering amount of money.
It is. And the risk isn't just to Ted. Skyler was his bookkeeper. She cooked his books. She signed off on the fraud. If the IRS digs deep into Ted's fraud, they find Skyler. If they find Skyler, they look at her finances. If they look at her finances,
They find the car wash. They find the millions of dollars of unexplained cash. It's a domino effect that brings down Heisenberg.
Exactly. So Skyler, much like Walt, has to come up with a desperate solution to stop an investigation. But her method is completely different from Walt's aggressive tactics. She uses acting.
I absolutely love this scene, the audit scene. It's one of the best comedic moments in a very dark season. Walk us through what she does.
She attends the audit with Ted. But instead of being the sharp, intelligent, calculating woman we know she is, she adopts a persona. She puts on a performance of a completely underqualified, quote-unquote, dumb bookkeeper.
The sources specifically call it a performance. She changes her outfit. She wears something a bit more revealing, a bit more chaotic. She acts completely flustered.
She plays right into the stereotype of the Dits. She pretends she didn't understand the accounting software Quicken. She claims the fraud was just a series of oopsie mistakes because she just pressed the wrong buttons.
She literally asks if she can just fix it like it's a typo. And the investigator...
He buys it. Hook, line, and sinker. The investigator looks at her, looks at Ted, and decides that there is no criminal mastermind here. Just pure incompetence. So he rules that there will be no prison time for Ted.
That is incredible. It's weaponized incompetence.
It is, and it's a fascinating parallel to Walt. Walt lies by dominating, by outsmarting, by saying, I am the danger. Skyler lies by diminishing herself, by playing the fool. And in this instance, her method is arguably more effective. She completely diffuses the threat of prison.
But there's a catch, a big, expensive catch. Ted isn't going to prison, but he still has to pay the money.
Correct. The fines and back taxes stand. The IRS wants their $600,000. And Ted is broke. He doesn't have the money.
Which leads to Skyler venturing into the crawl space.
The visual of the crawl space is crucial here. It establishes the physical location of the cash pile under the house. Skyler goes down there, effectively descending into the belly of the beast to assess their resources. She realizes she might have to solve the Ted problem with the meth money.
It's a painful realization. She's saving the family by spending the blood money on the man she had an affair with. The layers of guilt and resentment there must be suffocating.
It creates a massive resentment that will boil over. She is effectively paying a ransom to keep her past mistakes from destroying her future. But speaking of things boiling over, let's go back to the cartel war.
Right. While Skyler is acting her way out of tax fraud, things are getting very loud at the distribution center.
We are talking about the sniper attack.
This scene is terrifying because it comes out of nowhere. We're at the chicken farm, the distribution hub, it's a normal day, and then, snap, a sniper opens fire.
And it is lethal. One employee is killed immediately. It's chaos. The cartel is sending a message. They aren't just negotiating anymore, they're laying siege. They're disrupting the supply chain.
But then we get this moment that completely defines Gus Fring as a character. The shooting is happening, people are scrambling, bullets are kicking up dust, and what does Gus do?
He walks outside, alone.
He walks right into the line of fire.
He stands there, completely exposed. He spreads his arms, looks toward the hills where the sniper is, and the shooting stops.
Why? I mean, I know Gus is cool, but is he suicidal? Or is he just that confident?
It's a calculated risk, but a high-confidence one. Mike explains the logic to Jesse later in the episode. He says the cartel needs Gus alive.
Because of the distribution network.
Exactly. The cartel has the product, or at least they want to control the product, but Gus has the infrastructure. He has the trucks, the laundry, the chicken franchise, the legitimate face. If they kill Gus, the network collapses. They can kill the employees to scare him, but they cannot kill the boss.
That is such a power move. You need me more than I need you. It's corporate leverage applied to game warfare.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's also a grim reality check for everyone else. The employees are expendable. Gus is essential.
Which we see in the aftermath. Mike and Jesse have to clean up the mess. And by cleanup, we mean the classic Breaking Bad cleanup.
The acid barrel. They dissolve the body of the dead employee. It's a dark callback to Season 1. But notice the difference. In Season 1, it was traumatic. Here, it's just business. It shows how far Jesse has fallen.
And during this cleanup, or around this time, Mike has a message for Walt.
Yes. Remember Walt calling the cops on Tyrus? Mike hasn't forgotten. He threatens Walt explicitly. He says if Walt ever calls the police on his people again, he will kill him.
The walls are closing in on Walt. Hank is failing, the cartel is shooting, Mike is threatening him. And meanwhile, Gus is making a move on the one person Walt thinks he owns, Jesse Pinkman.
This brings us to the dinner party. This is a scene that feels like it belongs in a horror movie, even though it's just two guys eating dinner.
It is so unsettling. Gus invites Jesse to his home, his actual house.
It's a civilized setting for a criminal conversation. We've seen Walt there before, but seeing Jesse there feels wrong. Jesse is a street guy. He wears baggy clothes, he's rough around the edges. He doesn't fit in Gus's pristine, sterile, perfectly organized home.
And Gus starts asking questions. He asks if Jesse can cook the blue meth alone.
On the surface, it sounds like a promotion. Can you handle the lab? Are you ready for the big time? But Jesse is smarter than people give him credit for.
He snaps, right? He sees right through it.
He does. He confronts Gus. He says, I know what you're doing. He thinks Gus is using a scheme to make him feel independent from Walt, just so Gus can kill Walt without Jesse objecting.
Jesse shows incredible loyalty here. Despite everything, despite the abuse, the insults, he gives Gus an ultimatum. If you kill Mr. White, you have to kill me too.
It's a powerful moment for Jesse. Despite all of Walt's manipulation, Jesse draws a line in the sand. He refuses to sign Walt's death warrant. But then Gus reveals his countermove.
He tells the truth, or at least a version of it.
He denies the manipulation regarding Walt, but reveals the new reality. He has yielded to the cartel's demands. They are splitting the territory.
Kind of the kicker.
Jesse isn't just cooking alone in the lab in Albuquerque. He is going to Mexico.
He has to go to the cartel's super labs to teach their chemists how to cook the blue meth.
This changes everything. It's not just about splitting Walt and Jesse emotionally. It's about physically removing Jesse from the equation and handing him over to the cartel, essentially as a hostage and a tutor.
Now, before we move on, we have to talk about the stew.
The stew.
Gus is making dinner. a nice seafood stew, and Jesse is standing there. We know from previous episodes, and the source implies this heavily, that Jesse has the rice and cigarette on him. He has the poison.
He has the opportunity. Gus's back is turned, the stew is boiling on the stove. Jesse could slip the ricin in right there and end the threat. He could kill the king.
But he doesn't.
He hesitates. He decides not to risk it.
What stands out to you about that hesitation?
It highlights Jesse's internal conflict. He can verbally defend Walt. He can scream at Gus. But taking that specific action, poisoning a man in his own kitchen while he cooks for you, is a step he isn't ready to take. Or perhaps he's just terrified of failure. If he misses, or if Gus notices, he is dead instantly.
It's a missed opportunity that haunts the rest of the episode, because now Jesse has to go back to Walt.
And this leads us to the climax, the showdown we've been waiting for all season.
Jesse goes to Walt's house. He is panicking about Mexico. He needs help. He needs a tutorial on the chemistry because, let's face it, Jesse is a cook, not a chemist. He knows the recipe, but he doesn't know the science behind phenylacetic acid.
But notice what Jesse doesn't do. He asks for help, but he does not tell Walt that he met with Gus. He omits the dinner entirely.
Why do you think he hides that?
I think it's fear. He knows Walt is unhinged. He thinks if he tells Walt he was at Gus's house, Walt will spin out of control. He's trying to manage Walt.
Well, joke's on Jesse because Walt already knows.
And here is where the title bug pays off in the most devastating way. Walt reveals his hand. He tells Jesse, I know you were at Gus's house.
How?
He placed a GPS tracker on Jesse's car.
The same technology Hank used on Gus, Walt used on his partner.
It is the ultimate betrayal of trust. Jesse realizes that while he was standing in Gus's kitchen defending Walt's life, Walt was tracking him like a suspect. He was treating him like an enemy.
The look on Jesse's face when he realizes this, it's just pure heartbreak, and then it turns into rage.
Walt makes it worse. He doesn't just admit it, he attacks. He confronts Jesse for failing to kill Gus. He realizes Jesse had the chance at dinner and didn't take it. He accuses Jesse of being useless, of betraying him.
And that is the spark. Jesse throws the GPS tracker, the bug, right at Walt's head.
And then it is on.
This isn't a Hollywood kung fu fight. This isn't choreographed to look cool. This is messy. They're rolling around on the floor, smashing into furniture.
They wreck the living room. It is brutal and desperate. It's two men who have shared everything, who have saved each other's lives, now trying to hurt each other physically because words have finally failed.
And Jesse wins.
Jesse is younger, scrappier. He gains the upper hand. He leaves Walt lying on the floor bleeding.
And then he delivers the line.
He tells Walt to get out. Or rather, since they are in Walt's house, he tells Walt to stay away. He effectively breaks up with him. The source notes say Jesse tells Walt to get out and never return.
It is the severance.
The bug, both the device and the mistrust it represents, has finally destroyed the Walt and Jesse dynamic. This is the end of the road for them as a team, at least for now.
It's a gut punch. You spend 4 seasons watching this dysfunctional father-son dynamic, and it ends with a tracker to the forehead and a bloody brawl.
It leaves the audience completely unmoored. If Walt and Jesse aren't together, does the show even work? That is the question we are left with as the credits roll.
So we have the breakup, we have the cartel moving in, we have Skyler in the crawl space. Let's move to the production and reception notes, because there are some really interesting details here about how this episode was made and how people reacted to it.
First, a bit of sad trivia for the foodies out there. The production notes state that Bug is the last episode of the series to feature the Los Pollos Hermanos restaurant location.
Really? The last time?
In Breaking Bad, yes. It doesn't appear again until the spin-off Better Call Saul, specifically Season 3, the episode titled Witness.
That feels significant. The home base of Gus Fring is retired. It signals that his empire is changing or perhaps crumbling. The safe haven of the fried chicken joint is gone.
Exactly. It visually represents that the stable era of Gus's reign is over. We're in the endgame now. Also worth noting, this episode was directed by Terry McDonough, who really brought out the claustrophobia of the script.
Now, let's talk about that rating paradox I mentioned in the intro, because this is truly bizarre.
This is fascinating data. So looking at the critical reception at the time it aired, Donna Bowman from the AV Club gave the episode a B+.
Which is a solid grade, not an A, but a respectable B+.
She noted that 3 enormous no-going-back decisions were made. She recognized the structural importance of the episode. Skyler's fraud, Jesse's Mexico trip, the fight.
But then we look at The Ringer. They did a definitive ranking of all 62 Breaking Bad episodes in 2019, years after the show ended.
And where did Bug land?
It ranked 61st out of 62.
Second to last.
That is shocking. You have the massive fight between Walt and Jesse, you have the sniper attack, the audit scene. How is this the second worst episode of the show, according to that ranking?
It really begs the question. My theory, it suffers from being a setup episode.
Explain that for the listeners.
Well, think about what happens. Skyler sets up the payment to Ted, but the resolution, the famous rug slip, happens later. Jesse agrees to go to Mexico, but the trip happens in the next episode. Salute. The fight happens, but the fallout is in the finale.
So it's all moving pieces into place.
Right. It's the deep breath before the plunge. Sometimes, retrospectively, those episodes feel less satisfying than the ones with the big explosions or the final resolutions. It's doing the heavy lifting so the next episodes can soar.
Or maybe the fight was just too painful to watch. Seeing mom and dad fight is never fun.
That's a valid point. It's an emotionally draining hour. There is very little winning in this episode. Everyone loses. Hank fails, Walt gets beaten up, Jesse's heartbroken, Skyler is terrified. It is a feel-bad episode.
That's a great way to put it, a feel-bad episode. But structurally, it is essential. You cannot get to the explosive finale of Season 4 without the fuse that is lit in Bug.
It's the foundation. Without this breakup, the rest of the season doesn't happen.
So let's wrap this up. We've unpacked the surveillance, the acting, the cartel politics, and the brawl.
If we summarize the Rubicons crossed, as the AV Club put it, Skyler is now implicated in fraud and using drug money to solve it. Jesse is committed to Mexico and Gus, separated from Walt. And Walt and Jesse are physically and emotionally severed.
There is no going back from any of those.
No. The bridge is burned, the ships are scuttled.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought about the title, Bug.
Let's hear it.
We talked about the GPS device that failed Hank. We talked about the GPS device that caught Jesse. But here's the question for you to mull over. What is the real bug?
Go on.
Is the bug the mistrust that Walt inserted into the relationship, the idea that he had to track his partner? Or is Walt himself the bug?
Interesting.
Think about it. Gus Fring runs a perfect system. It's a computer program of crime. Efficient, clean, predictable. And then comes Walter White, the glitch, the virus, the bug that crashes the whole system.
That is a profound way to look at it. Walt is the error code in Gus's carefully ordered universe. He disrupts everything he touches. And in this episode, the system is finally trying to purge him. Gus is trying to delete the bug.
Exactly. And the bug is fighting back to stay in the mainframe. Something to chew on.
Indeed. It reframes the whole conflict.
Before we go, I want to encourage everyone to rewatch that fight scene. Don't just watch the punches. Look at the acting choices.
Yeah.
Look at Aaron Paul's face when he sees the tracker. It's a masterclass in nonverbal acting.
And look at the set design. The way the living room reflects the chaos of their relationship. It starts orderly and ends in ruins.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening to The Demp Dive. We will catch you on the next one.